I was intrigued by Clair Obscur prior to release. The idea of these developers leaving behind big companies to start their own is something I can easily get behind. Usually, it's the actual developers who are passionate, till the suits come in and start shoving in microtransactions and other BS. My original plan was to play and review Clair Obscur after my Avowed review was done, but then the Oblivion Remaster Shadow dropped, and that was that. At this point, post-awards, we all know how good the game is, although there are some controversies. But how much of it is warranted? Let's dive in. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 doesn't have a character creator. It has a set story with set characters. You take control of Gustav, but can freely switch to any of the other characters in your party as they become available. Despite being set characters, there is plenty of customization. There's a whole bunch of different hairstyles and outfits, including swimwear, but don't worry, it's not like it's the fan servicey type. One of them's especially funny. There's a setting to toggle whether these cosmetic changes are visible during cutscenes or not. I wasn't too sure about the parry system before starting the game, but once I got the hang of it, I loved it. So combat works like all your favorite turn-based RPGs, Final Fantasy, Phantasy Star, Chrono Trigger. But on top of that, when the enemy attacks you, you can parry or dodge the attack by pressing the corresponding button at the right time. There is also a third type where you jump out of the way, and later in the game, a fourth special type. When you attack, there is also a QTE for increased damage, though missing makes some attacks miss as well. These ones can be turned off in the options menu, but the parry and dodge ones are always on. Again, I was a little apprehensive about it at first, but it adds a new twist to the tried and true formula of the turn-based RPG. It can be a bit tricky to get used to. There's a training fight early on you can keep repeating to get a feel for it. Needless to say, my L kicked my ass a bunch of times until I got the hang of it. Moral of the story, when you encounter a new enemy, particularly a boss, don't be surprised to get stomped out a few times until you've learned its timings. That said, there are a few enemies I just could not get the timings for. Like, the window for most enemies is roughly in the same place during their swing, but there were a few enemies where it just felt off. In combat, each character has their base attack, special moves, and free shots, which can be used to target enemy weak points as well as the primary way to hurt flying enemies. Each character has their own AP bar, which you gain by doing certain actions like parrying or basic attacks. You can then use these points for free shots or special moves. Each character has a loadout that gives bonus effects through their weapons as well as 3 Picto slots, which are just special effects. After fighting a few battles with one equipped, you then learn the skill for the entire party, which can then be equipped through a subcategory called Luminas. Each skill costs a set number of points, and as you grow, you can fit more and more of these skills into your builds. There really is a million different ways you can try and set up these characters. Not surprisingly, I had a normal battle loadout and a separate one for bosses. Sadly, there is no saved loadouts, so if you change it, you have to manually switch it back. I used my phone to take pictures in case I forgot, which happened a couple times. Each character's special abilities work different from the others. Gustav's arm has a charge feature, my girl Lune has magic that creates stains, and Mael's attacks switch her fighting stance. The other characters also have separate things. No two characters are the same. You can have up to 3 characters active in battle, so there's plenty to mix up and see what you like. If you set things up right, you can pull off some amazing stuff. I, however, found keeping track of everyone's specials a bit too tedious, since there is a damage cap for the majority of the game anyway. But if you're someone who wants that depth, it's certainly there. The world Clair Obscur takes place in is big and beautiful. It consists of a hub world where the landscapes remind me of Xenoblade. And then there are various sections you can enter. Even on the overworld, there's plenty to do, like fight, talk to merchants, and collect stuff. As the game progresses, you'll unlock different abilities like swimming, expanding the map more. There are a bunch of different biomes to explore. Forests, autumn forests, snowy mountains, underwater areas, and each has a weird twist, like with cut-up cities, floating land masses, and all kinds of other eye-catching oddities. Early on, you also find this mysterious manor, with a bunch of locked rooms inside. This is an area you keep revisiting throughout the game, with a neat way of slowly unlocking all the rooms. There's also all kinds of things you can find in the world, like there are these special enemies, they're mimes, and when you beat them, you unlock different cosmetics like hairstyles. There's also these little rock guys, and they run away from you, but you have to herd them over to these special platforms, and it locks them in place, and then you can fight them. They have a set time limit that you have to beat them in, and I never got the hang of it, so I never ended up beating any of them. There are also these little guys called Gestrels, and there's a guy who watches a group of their kids, and the kids have all scattered throughout the world, and you find them one by one and bring them back to him, also unlocking different things like cosmetics. And then there's also the journals. So each expedition team that has gone out before you made it so far in the world, and some of them set up things like things to make you be able to climb places you otherwise wouldn't, and all of them that have died off have left behind journals, and so you can find these journals and then listen to their story, maybe what they did or how they ended up meeting their end. Like the world, the graphics are beautiful and stylized, really showing what a passionate group of developers can do when they're not bogged down by suits overworking them and trying to squeeze out all the money they can. When I first started the game, I had to fiddle with the settings a bit as I was getting around 40 FPS. It didn't take me too long to get it to 60 though and still look good. Like I said, there are lots of varied environments, and I kept finding myself panning the camera around to breathe it all in. I'll keep this one short, since it's hard to talk about them without revealing anything. But don't worry, no spoilers. The first three characters you get are Gustav, Lune, and Maël, all a part of the expedition and fighting for the same goals. They each have their own personalities, and among them, and the others I'm not mentioning, I didn't find any that I didn't like. They were all enjoyable, had their flaws, and were good to get to know. One difference that I thought was cool was Lune, who is your magic user. When she dashes, she doesn't run like everyone else, she floats as she moves. It was just a nice touch I thought was cool. In camp, there are also instances where you get to hang out one-on-one with them and get to watch a little scene, increasing relationship level. Getting a rank high enough unlocks special moves, and with two characters, you can even romance them. Of course I chose Lune, despite her not wearing shoes. She gonna catch something. There are also these special creatures in the world called Gestrels that I mentioned before. They're kind of like fairies or playful spirits. They're pretty funny and always a joy to interact with, minus the minigames. Two of them are even named after the dogs at the studio. Now I see why Minoka was written so well. He's definitely the funniest of the bunch. The story is great, with lots of oh shit moments and clever bits. You will, however, have many unanswered questions for most of the game. But after finishing it, it was done right. The gist of the story is every year the paintress paints a new number far off on that tower. When she does, everyone that age gormages, which is French for erasing or scrubbing. Essentially, they evaporate. So, afterward, each year, the next group up heads out on an expedition to try and put a stop to it. The story is linear, which is a good thing. But there is also plenty of side stuff to do. Some story beats I saw coming, and some were surprises. But all in all, I really enjoyed the story, especially the last quarter of the game, where all the pieces start coming together. There's lots of themes like loss in the game, like people getting gourmaged in their 30s tends to leave behind children, so there's lots of orphans in the world. You can see how that builds character development and motivation. The music in the game is amazing. I was constantly singing along, even though I had no idea what they were saying. Some of it would hit just at the right time, really emphasizing the battles. There are a bunch of different styles too. It's not all just like rock or techno or whatever. There was a couple really good examples of how great the music is, but it was doing its job so well that I was entranced and forgot to record it. The voice acting is also great, especially my favorite Jennifer English, Shadowheart from Baldur's Gate 3, doing some of the heavy lifting here. Not to downplay the others, they're all really good. They've got a good comedic timing too, but Rich Keeble wins the prize here as Minoko. Andy Serkis does a fantastic job as Renoir and steals the show anytime he's on screen. There are a few more carryovers from Baldur's Gate 3 besides Jennifer English, though most are just small parts, like Devorah Wild, who was Lizelle, Tracy Wiles, Jahira, and Eliona Baranova, who played the unforgettable Squirrel. The mocap is also pretty good and helps to sell the performance. There is an on and off problem with the lip sync at times though. It's not game breaking or anything, but it's definitely noticeable. The UI works, but I found myself fighting with it fairly often. There's just a bunch of little things that all add up. For instance, I open the menu, it starts on Gustav. I want to go over to the journal/inventory, so I hit down, but nothing happens. You have to hit up. I get it, it probably makes more sense to hit up, but I don't see why you can't do either or. Then there's the effect that lets you know where the cursor is. Does it change? Yes. Is it easily noticeable? Not so much. On the character screen, it's not that big a deal, but it becomes a problem when you're trying to change pictos. You can swap them by selecting the slot you want to change that already has one, or you can pick one from the list on the left. It can be rather finicky, and I can't tell you how many times I thought I was doing it one way and didn't realize the cursor was in the other spot, causing me to equip something I didn't mean to, and in a slot I didn't mean to, and now I have to figure out how I had everything prior. There are also some things like items or upgrades where you hold down the A button and a radial bar will appear and start filling. My issue with it is it goes a certain speed most of the way, but then slows down near the end. So I kept letting go early and having to start over. I know it's a little nitpicky, but again, it adds up. Also, the camera at times feels a little too close. This isn't a problem in the overworld, as it super zooms out there, but in the main level sections, it's just a bit too close. Games like Elder Scrolls have spoiled me with their adjustable camera. And lastly, it could really use a mini-map. There are so many branching paths at times that it's easy to get mixed up. I know they really want you to explore, and that's what I do, but a map would really help me to do that. There is plenty of replay value here. Not necessarily story-wise, but there's plenty of stuff to collect, and despite exploring thoroughly, I know I missed some stuff. There's also a New Game Plus to check out as well. There is plenty of challenge here. You can make the game as hard or easy as you want with options and pick those. The meat and potatoes here though is the parrying and QTE systems. If you are perfect at them, you can kill enemies far beyond your level. However, if that's not your cup of tea, you can always go to the tried and true route of grind a few levels when you really need it. Personally, I went down a middle road. There are also these gestural beat sections, where you unlock swimwear for everyone. Some of these are frustrating to no end, and some are 10 times worse, particularly the climbing one. This game was made for its combat and exploration, not for super precise platforming. The parkour platforming one is definitely a negative, but its reward is a positive. Still, that one wasn't too bad, but the climbing one is insane. One slip and all the way back down with no checkpoints. Whoever made that one is a sadist. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 won Game of the Year for a reason. It has combat that takes tried and true mechanics and adds a fresh twist that keeps you engaged and makes you think twice if it's safe to let go of the controller and grab your drink. It has a compelling story in a unique world that makes you want to uncover more, alongside stunning visuals and beautiful music brought to life with the charming work of the actors. There is so much to do, find, and collect, along with the new Game Plus, and with all the different build options, it's easy to see why you'd be coming back for more. My score for Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is a 10 out of 10. It has its flaws, but it's an amazing game I had trouble putting down. It feels like a AAA game made by a AA studio, and at a AA price. Like Larian, Sandfall really has highlighted where the industry should move, and shown if you make a game with heart and passion as the focus, you end up making a lot of money. This is what I want to see, developers being able to do what they love without people at the top ruining everything and everyone. I know I'm not alone when I say I can't wait to see what Sandfall has in store for us next, whether it's Clair Obscur Expedition 34, or maybe 32, or a brand new IP. So that's it for my review for Clair Obscur. I really enjoyed the game, and if you haven't already played it, you should definitely check it out. I will give you this caveat: I do have a friend who does not like the game, but I think she's in the minority there, and I think most gamers will fall in love with the game. So I say, check it out if you can. Thanks for listening, and if you've already played the game, tell me what you thought of it. Like and subscribe if you want, and I'll catch you in the next one.